Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going to dive into a crucial topic that can impact your financial future. Whether you're just starting out with a financial advisor or considering a change, these are the 5 critical questions you need to ask to ensure you're getting the best advice possible. Let's get started.
Let us help you reach your peak in retirement. It's time for Your Retirement Elevated.
Hey, another edition of Your Retirement Elevated. Welcome. I'm Walter Storholt alongside Scott Dugan. And yes, today we're going to tackle those 5 critical questions to ask any financial advisor. Scott, I could see today's episode being great for anybody that is thinking of working with an advisor in the future, maybe currently shopping a couple of different financial advisors, or maybe even just evaluating their current relationship with a financial advisor. Always great to be armed with some basic questions that you can ask to kind of compare one to another.
Oh, absolutely. And in today's day and age, we're at no loss for access to information. And what I truly believe is missing for a lot of people is a process to go through to evaluate information that we're being presented or that we're absorbing. And so these 5 critical questions can really get to the heart of the matter and help you make sure you have a higher probability of success and getting things that are being recommended in your best interest. So that's what we've been using these in some form or fashion for almost 20 years, and they always continue to evolve. So we're happy to share the latest version of the 5 critical questions today.
Well, let's dive in the 2024 version of these questions, I suppose, if you will, and get right to them, Scott, without any further ado. Question number 1 is, have you thoroughly reviewed your financial situation to ensure your plan recommendations are in your own best interest? Some key words kind of littered throughout that one.
Yes. So your financial advisor should have a very deep understanding of your unique financial situation and the landscape that you're navigating in. This can include income, expenses, debts, financial objectives, what's your ideal situation. So really a thorough review ensures that any recommendations, those recommendations will be tailored to your specific needs and circumstances. And if it's really taking all those things into account when you're building a plan, that's what helps try to give you the best outcome possible and make sure those things are truly in your best interest, not potentially the person trying to sell you something.
Because that's a pretty common problem, right? I mean, people don't realize you hire a professional, you assume they're going to make decisions in your best interest, but in the financial world, that can be pretty dangerous because it's not always the default position.
That is true. There is that fiduciary world and that suitability world. And, if you're a fiduciary like us and all of our advisors that we work with, we do have to sit on the same side of the table as the client. We have to thoroughly disclose if there's any types of conflicts of interest when we're giving recommendations. And so we don't work for some investment house or some big custodian. We work for our clients. And that fiduciary standard of care is what we've adopted to make sure that someone can come in, talk about that very important transition from paid work to work optional. And it's making sure that we have someone that has, again, their best interest at heart, giving them recommendations that are going to truly get them in the right direction and hopefully achieve their ideal situation when it comes to retirement.
Excellent. So there you have it. Critical question number 1. Let's go to number 2, Scott. How will your plan proactively manage my tax return each year? And are there future tax issues that we should be aware of? Really good question to ask an advisor if you really want to find out what they're made of and what kind of plan you're getting is, right?
And to find out if that person can actually help navigate taxes. And kind of the buzzword in the financial space is tax planning. And that's a marketing thing. And when it really comes down to it, you don't always get what we call tax planning. And taxes really can have a significant impact on your financial health. So a good advisor, they're going to take and look at your tax return every year. They're going to analyze that return and see if there's money falling through the cracks. And so that's why when we're entertaining, bringing on a new family in the firm, that's one of the things we ask for. Is there 1040? Because we want to review to say, okay, what's been going on? Are there things that maybe have been missed, or things that could be put into the plan to make things better? But again, not everyone can do that. Not all advisors have that capability or the license to be able to dive into that. We're very fortunate. We've got a group of certified financial planners that work in the office. We've got a CPA that works in our office. And so they're very adept at diving in and looking at someone's tax return. We do tax preparation. And so that is a key cornerstone for us, is to make sure that we're giving great advice not only today, but that advice, is going to impact them in a positive manner in the future.
So if you're hearing responses to that question, that number 2 question about proactively managing tax returns and those kinds of things, if the answer just sounds like, well, those are matters your CPA will help you figure out and navigate, that'd be like a little red flag, right? If they're just tossing it out onto the CPA or just kind of having that narrow focus.
Yeah, you definitely want to peek up. Kind of peek. Like, wait, why wouldn't someone that is guiding your financial future, someone that is guiding the management of your life savings, not be able to evaluate the tax impacts going forward on your plan?
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's crazy. It's not the standard, but it certainly is not.
Good to be aware of. All right. Number 3, let's get to it. How will your plan affect my future income and liquidity needs? Are we getting at the heart of income planning as part of working with an advisor here?
Definitely income planning, and really being able to have flexibility of when life throws you a curveball.
Okay.
It could be, a family member needs a cash infusion. It may be a long-term care scenario, down the road. We're dealing with that right now. One of our longtime clients, they're evaluating memory care facilities for their spouse. And 10 years ago, when we set up the initial plan, we had, because they said it was important, they wanted a plan put together to have increased liquidity for just in case something happened from a long-term care perspective. And at that time, no health issues. This was almost 10 years ago. But here we are, a decade into the plan, and that due diligence up front and having those questions say, is a long-term care strategy important to you? And, not talking about long-term care insurance or anything like that, but we crunched those numbers, quantified it, and they said, you know what, we would like some strategy that in case we do need it, we can access those funds. And here we are getting ready to do that here in the near future. So it is important that you talk through these possibilities that happen in retirement, and that liquidity and income is extremely important to make sure you've got all your bases covered.
That's a great point. You could work with an advisor who puts together a great plan that could handle even the tax element that we talked about a few minutes ago, or handle some single aspect of the plan, but maybe all of that gets locked away and you don't have that liquidity access. So that's great that you cover both sides of that in this question, Scott. Yeah, we want income. We want to cover things like that, but let's not forget about liquidity in some of these smaller areas of the overall financial plan that, again, could easily go overlooked by somebody not kind of looking at the comprehensive picture.
Absolutely. And, that income scenario, we look at, how would it be affected by inflation, which we've obviously seen over the last couple of years? What happens if we live a long, long life? Because that puts an extra strain potentially on your portfolio. And so again, those are things that happen. And then the other is, what's the economic impact of losing a spouse? Not only is there an income change potentially with the surviving spouse keep the larger of the 2 Social Security checks, in a relationship. Depending if there's a pension, how is that going to be affected? And then really the one that goes overlooked quite a bit is, what are the tax impacts of going from married filing jointly on your tax return to a single tax filer? And that tax bracket, you start climbing that ladder much faster as a single tax filer. And that, if you have to pay more in taxes on your withdrawals, that speeds up the total consumption out of the plan. But really, a lot of times, the plans that we see, if someone does have a plan, have never really had that discussion and never really put that stress test of the portfolio. And God forbid, if we do lose a spouse, there's obviously the emotional impact, but what's the economic impact? And that really falls under that income planning scenario.
Is your retirement journey truly tailored to your needs? In his book, Exceptional Retirement: Tools and Strategies for Retiring on Your Own Terms, Scott Dugan addresses the crucial questions all retirees ask. Discover the power of a clear financial decision-making process that can prevent major retirement mistakes and unlock exceptional opportunities. In the book, Scott outlines 4 essential questions that guide retirees toward successful outcomes. Don't miss out on key insights that could define your future. Available now on Amazon. Click the link in the description of this episode to get your copy of Exceptional Retirement.
All right, let's get to number 4 on our list now. Scott, how does your plan match up with our personal risk tolerance? Key question here. And another item in that financial world when you talk about risk that I think often gets misunderstood by folks, right?
Definitely, because there's different types of risk. There's market risk, there's legislative risk. Tax rates could go up, the economy could falter. There's always going to be pressure.
Like 19 or something like that. There's like 19 identifiable financial risks or something along those lines. It's more than you'd think.
It is, and you also, as a consumer, need to understand that certain advisors, potentially, they have a way or a thought process of how they're going to solve your income needs. And so if you go to a stockbroker, then what do you think the chances are that everything around your plan is based around, equities? Because that's what they do for a living. That's the solution that they provide. If you go to your bank, that bank is going to give you potentially bank solutions to fix that issue. If you go to an insurance agent, go to a dinner seminar, they're probably going to give you some sort of insurance product as the solution. And again, there's nothing wrong with really any of those worlds of investing, but you just have to understand what's the motive for that person that's giving you those recommendations. In our world, we let our clients know, here are the different tools that you can use in the world of, the markets, the world of safety and protection. And it doesn't matter to us. We just want to make sure that we go through a process to discover, what are you comfortable with? How do you want to have that income delivered? What makes you sleep well at night? And we can look at all those worlds and put the perfect plan together based on you and what you need, not what our personal preference is or what our business model is. And I think that goes unlooked a lot. We have licenses across the board, so we can really access almost any investment strategy that's out there, that's legal and vetted, things like that. But again, we want to discover with a client, what do they want to experience? What are the pros and cons of making those decisions? And ultimately, we have to be able to live with the strings that are attached to any of those decisions. And so I think it's very, very key to make sure that, hey, what is your comfort level with the fluctuation of your assets? How do you want to have that income delivered? And then look at the options, narrow it down, and move forward confidently with a plan that you feel comfortable with. And again, so you can sleep well at night and focus on retirement and do the things that you want to do.
Sometimes it's good to stay in your lane, and a lot of those types of companies that you talked about will certainly do that. The banking or the insurance worlds, they'll stay in their lane, which can be great for them. But if we're talking about planning for retirement and comprehensive planning, that's not necessarily what you want. You want somebody that can help assemble that plan from all different lanes and areas of the financial world. So very big.
Absolutely.
All right, number 5, our last critical question to ask any financial advisor, Scott, would be, how will your plan affect the transition of our estate to our heirs? So we've put on the oxygen mask on the airplane, and now we're ready to help others around us, is when you kind of get to that final step of the planning process, right?
Yes. And estate planning is a critical component of your financial plan. Of the 5 key areas of planning, that's number 5 for us. And your advisor should help you understand how your assets will be passed on to your heirs. And that will help ensure a smooth transition and minimize any potential tax liabilities or legal challenges. And so there's the advisor aspect of the estate plan. Then there's the legal aspect, which usually involves an estate planning attorney. And that's why under our roof, we have financial planners, we have CPAs, and we have an estate planning attorney, because we feel like you should have a great team around you. And in our world, those groups of people are in one office. And so when we have meetings and reviews for our clients, we're involving multidisciplinary, professionals to look at all different aspects or dimensions of someone's plan, and estate planning being a big one. And so that's why we wanted to put that in there, because making decisions or really defining what's important to you, how you want things to be handled while you're here, how you want things handled if you're incapacitated, and how you want things to be transitioned when you're not here, that's all handled in your legal documents and how your beneficiaries are set up. And so our office works together to make sure all those arrows are pointed the right direction, all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and really no stone is unturned. So that estate planning piece is extremely important, and make sure that's integrated correctly into an overall comprehensive plan.
Well, here you have it, the 5 critical questions to ask any financial advisor. You ask those 5 and you're off to a good start. Scott, I would imagine you encourage folks to ask more than 5 questions when they're shopping or looking to work with a financial advisor, but these are 5 good starter questions for sure. That'll get you well down the line. You'll be able to vet a good number of the advisors you're thinking of working with just those 5 questions. So,
absolutely. And you get to number 2 or 3, and that advisor is going to understand that you came prepared.
Yeah,
for sure.
They might go ahead and cover the rest of the questions before you even ask them, once they start seeing what kind of level of knowledge that you're coming to the table with. So,
absolutely.
One of our goals here on the show, right, Scott, to create better educated listeners, viewers, and folks planning for their retirement years. And so hopefully today's episode did that a little bit. If you'd like to talk with Scott, ask him these 5 questions directly and see how the answers match up with your particular situation and the planning that you're going through yourself. Don't hesitate to reach out. You can have a complimentary financial review by calling 913-393-4724. Scott's based in the Kansas City, Overland Park metro area, but works with clients from all across the country, so don't hesitate to reach out no matter where you are. You can also go to listentoscott.com or just check out the links in the description of today's show for more details and information on how to get in touch and tap into that 2 decades plus of experience that Scott and his team bring to the table each and every day. Scott, thanks for another great episode today. Really enjoyed it.
All right. Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah. Talk to everybody soon, right back here on your Retirement Elevated podcast.
Investment advisory services offered through Elevated Capital Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.